So how does these simple, like all these chatbots work? Let us try to create a simple chatbot. Now that we have large language models, creating chatbots is a piece of cake. It's a simple piece of cake. Earlier, creating a chatbot, if you are creating a chatbot to make it much more accurate, it was a Herculean task. It was very, very difficult. I tried chatbot around 8 or 9 years back. I think 8 years back. First time when I tried chatbot, it was very bad. I could not get the good results. But with Langchain, with large language models, within 2 minutes, you can create a chatbot. Let us create a sample chatbot. How does this work? I mean, forget about the accuracy, the ease with which we can create this chatbot. The kind of time that it takes to create the chatbot will be very, very less. Let me create the chatbot in the Jupyter notebook itself, here in this notebook itself, so that we can take the input from the user and give the output. Let's say my user input. So I will take the message from the user. My large language model is Chat OpenAI. Memory is conversation buffer memory. Conversation is this one. I would say verbose equal to false. I don't want to see any verbose, or even if you ignore this, automatically verbose equal to false. Now what I'll do is I'll try to write a loop while the user input is not quit. If the user types quit, then I'll stop. Otherwise, what I'll do, let me delete this. I'll try to write it again. If the user input is not quit, then what I'll print is I'll take the user input, print the conversation dot predict, conversation dot predict. Whatever is the user input, we will take the user input that we will pass it on as the input to the large language model. Now I want this to be mentioned as AI message. I will say AI message or AI reply. So it will look like this in the output. So user input will be given, followed by whatever is the AI output. It will come as AI message followed by this symbol and then the output if the user input is not quit. And then we will once again ask for the user input. Again, we are asking for the user input. User will write the message. If the user input is quit, in fact, we don't need to write this. Automatically, it will quit. But to be on the safe side, if the user input is quit, you just clear the memory and break the sequence. So once I say this, so your message, so the user message is, I would say, hello. So this hello will be passed on to the conversation predict. Hello, how are you today? I want to learn Python. That's great. Python is a high-level programming language. I want to learn Python for data science. Fantastic choice, popular language, etc., etc., etc. Give me the top 10 topics to learn. Here are the top 10 topics. Python basics, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, data cleaning, machine learning, scikit-learn, data visualization, time series, natural language processing. Out of these 10 topics, how many topics do you know? If you know 7, you're 70% ready. If you know 8, if you're 80% ready in Python. If you know 9, 90% ready in Python. Obviously, 10 out of 10, not everybody must be knowing, but how much of it we know. Then if you want to end this conversation, I would say quit. As soon as I say quit, it will clear the memory, and then that's it. As simple as this. Remember, getting this type of output from a chatbot a few years back, it was impossible. I'm talking about the accuracy that we can achieve. To achieve this type of accuracy, the model has to be extremely accurate. But here now we have the large language model, which is taking care of everything. You can simply create a chatbot like this within minutes. Obviously, we can deploy it on any cloud platform, or we can deploy it on a web application and anywhere, because only this code need to be included. The rest of it on top of it, you just wrap it up inside a website. You write, you can use Streamlit and you can deploy it easily. Even I have that code, but that deployment is not a big deal. Just creating a website is not a big deal. This is the one, this is the heart of that machine that is working. In front of you, it looks like a chatbot. Behind the scenes, it's a large language model along with the memory. Now, the ultimate, the most important application that is working nowadays is memory chatbot. So using memory, you can create a chatbot plus RAG. So that is known as conversational retrieval chain. So what does RAG do? What does RAG do? Try to recollect, what does RAG do? Try to answer this question. What is the use of RAG? Why do you use RAG? What is the main use of RAG? We have already seen that earlier. Usually a large language model will give you answer from the whole internet of data. Instead of that, if you have some private documents, so this is one of the most asked interview question. What is the use of RAG? A simple use of RAG. What is the difference from getting an answer from the large language model versus getting an answer from the RAG? So instead of getting the answer from the whole world of data, we want to augment our private documents, and then the large language model will give us an answer from these private documents only, not from the internet. Now plus RAG plus memory. Earlier, when we ask a question to RAG, we used to get an answer. When we ask another question, we used to get another answer. These are not connected. Now, if you want to use RAG as well as memory, for that you have to use conversational retrieval chain. There are multiple chains that we have discussed until now. Sequential chain, conversational chain, retrieval Q&A chain, retrieval chain, like that. There are several chains that we have used. One of the other chain that we are talking about right now is conversational retrieval chain. This is the ultimate application. Most of the companies are working with this type of application right now. Almost 90% of the people that I have interacted with, most of them are working on RAG, extracting the information from the private documents. Within RAG, either you can use RAG Q&A that we have seen earlier, or conversational retrieval chain that we are going to discuss right now. Can you quickly recollect the steps in RAG? All of you, there are 5 steps that we have discussed in RAG. Let us try to recollect them. What are the 5 steps that are there in RAG? Step number 1. Try to recollect them. Step number 2, 3, 4, 5. What was the first step? Load the data.
Load the data, sir, and
Load
then
the data. Once you load the data, can you take the full data and work with it after
no,
loading
sir,
the data?
chunking.
Chunk, create the
Chunks of
chunks.
the data.
Yeah, create the chunks of the data. Yeah, the chunk size can be 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. And while you're chunking, there is some information that you will keep it as intersection, isn't it? Overlap also, chunk overlap. Once you create the chunks, can you directly use them? Chunking must be followed by what?
Numerical vector.
Vectorization.
Vectorization,
Database.
that is called creating embeddings, right or no? Creating embeddings. Once you create the embedding, directly can you retrieve from there? These embeddings need to be stored somewhere. What is that called? Store these embeddings in
Vector database,
vector
sir.
database. Give me an example of one vector database or a couple of vector database that you know.
ChromaDB.
ChromaDB is one of the vector database. Facebook
Fine.
one, FAISS, Facebook one is another vector database. And then finally, retrieval, retrieve, isn't it? Remember these 5 steps. Now we will try to use all these 5 steps, but earlier in the retrieval, it was just a retrieval Q&A chain. We used to ask a question, then we used to get an answer. Now we will try to do a conversational retrieval chain. Earlier it was a retrieval Q&A chain, question and answer chain. Now we want to make it as a conversational chain. So now that I'm happy that you have remembered all those 5 steps, we will go ahead and make it like a conversational retrieval chain. Basically, in simple words, we want to do it as RAG plus memory. Until now, we have done either RAG or memory. If I want to do RAG plus memory, let us see how does that happens. So I want to get all the CIBIL related information, CIBIL or the credit card or credit score related information. First, let me start with step 1, which is known as document loading. Once again, let me write the steps. Document loading followed by data chunking or chunk the data, create the chunks, and then embeddings and vector DB followed by retrieval. So document loading, first let me get the document wget. So this is the data that I'm talking about. I think it's a zip file, all the CIBIL documents that I have. These are all the PDF files. Let me unzip those PDF files. I've got them. Unzip. I have a PDF 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have any number of ones. Okay. Now I will get all the PDF files out of this. There is one option for that, PDF underscore files is equal to this one. I think this particular package, we may not have it. We may have to get it. Yes. Let me import that first. What is the function for it from? No, that's not the one. Let me get what exactly is this one globe. What part of the package is that? I don't remember it right now. PyPDF need to be installed, and this is just a glob. So let me get all of that. So what are all the PDF files that you have? So these are all this is the list of PDF files that we are going to take. Now, since we are reading the PDF files, we have to use PyPDF for reading all these files. So let us try to get the PyPDF. First, we have to load the documents. For loading of the documents, let me install PyPDF. Quietly. Then we will get into document loading. What is the code for document loading? From Langchain, document loaders, import the PyPDF loader, pages. So this is the first file. I think we have to write a loop for getting all the files. We cannot just use it from one file. So this is the loop. What it will do is I'm getting the full text. So these are all the PDF files. I'm getting the full text for PDF file in PDF files. I'll take all of them and then I'll try to get this. So this is from one file, but we don't want to load it from a single file. We want to load it from all these files. So finally, how many pages, how many lines are there? Let us see. So 7 pages from this document, 12 pages from this document, 4 pages from this document. Overall, this is a piece of the PDF file, first 1000 characters. The number of lines are 576. The number of words are these. The number of characters are around 67,000 characters are there. So that is the data loading. After loading the data, we convert it into chunks. How do you convert it into chunks? Recursive character splitter. So from Langchain text splitter, recursive character text splitter, recursive character text splitter. Since like this chunk size is in our hand, depending on the number of characters that you have, based on that, you can get the chunk size. Roughly, if I'm taking chunk size as 300, overlap as 20, roughly I will have around 200 plus or 250 plus number of chunks, which is fine. So I will take chunk size as this one. And the chunk overlap is 60. Usually chunk overlap is kept as 10% to 15% or 20%. And then create the chunks. You can get an idea on the length of the chunks. And the first, there are 292 chunks of data that has been created. Each of the chunk looks like this. If I increase this to 500, then the chunk size will be larger. The number of chunks will be lesser. Anything is fine. There is no rule that you have to keep exactly one number, but you have to try. If you feel that you have very lengthy documents here, hardly I have 576 lines or only 10,000 words, I'm okay with a slightly lesser chunk size. If you have huge documents, the number of documents are too many, then you may want to increase the chunk size. Overall, you try to keep the number of chunks of data maybe to a number around 400 or 500 or slightly less than that. Based on that, you choose the chunk size. The chunk size should be good enough so that you can find an answer to the question that the user is going to ask you. So this is the chunking of the data. Once you chunk the data, the next step is embeddings and the vector database creation. My embeddings, I think for embeddings, we have to use OpenAI embeddings. And then for vector database, I'm using Chroma. I think for that, we have to install ChromaDB. I would say pip install ChromaDB quietly. Done. All right. After that, I will say my ChromaDB. Let me write it once again. My embeddings equal to embeddings. I will say my Sybil DB database, ChromaDB from text. Like there are multiple options in this. You can get it from text, from language, depending on the type of data that you have. We have the plain text. I will take text and then persistent directory. Once you give a persistent directory, it will be storing locally somewhere here, which will be kept like a physical file. So Sybil DB will be created in that. One SQLite file will be created. That will be the database file after converting the chunks of data into numbers. Once you create that, finally our retrieval. The retrieval, I would create a retriever. My retriever equal to, I want to use this database as a retriever. So whenever I'm asking a question, I would like to get the information from this database. Then usually what we tend to do is if I want to have the information, retriever dot get relevant documents, what is the CIBIL score? Usually, retrieval augmentation, it's mostly about retrieval. That means once you have data, which is chunks, once you keep the data inside the database, if you ask a question, only documents would be retrieved. This is the original process, isn't it? Whatever is the question that you ask, the chunks that are related to this, what is CIBIL score? A CIBIL score is a 3-digit number, etc., etc. The chunks that are related to this question will be retrieved. On top of it, we put a large language model and then we try to summarize it. We try to give it like a proper answer. But originally, the documents that are related to this question or the chunks of data that is related to this question, that will be retrieved. That's it. Now what I'll do is I'll try to make it like a conversation. My large language model is equal to chat OpenAI. Temperature is this. Max tokens could be anything. Now I'm saying my memory. I'm introducing a new thing called memory component, conversational buffer memory. I can also give something called memory key if you want to return the messages, etc., etc. But I will directly take it this way. Now I'm creating conversational RAG. Conversational RAG is conversational retrieval chain. Earlier, we used to say retrieval Q&A chain or retrieval chain. Now it is conversational retrieval chain. In the conversational retrieval chain, I will give the large language model. I will give the retriever. Retriever already mentioned here. My retriever is CIBIL as a retrieval. And then my memory. In fact, I can say retriever equal to retriever here, but directly I'm writing it here. My memory is equal to memory. Now you have the conversational RAG. Now the questions that you are asking, you can almost have a conversation with all your documents. This is the place where the whole world right now is kind of crazy, or everybody is talking about this only. Talk to your documents, talk to your data set, talk to your private documents, talk to a book. Have you ever seen such titles being used by people? Using a large language model, you can talk to a book, or using a large language model, you can talk to a PDF file. What exactly they mean when you say talk to a book, talk to a PDF file? This is what conversational retrieval chain. That means you can ask the questions, the answers will be given by that PDF file. I have loaded 4 or 5 PDF files related to CIBIL score, credit score. Now we can have a conversation with them. So I will try to create that quick app. The user input is user message, while the user input is not quit. If he says quit, we will stop. Otherwise, we will get the answer from the RAG, get the AI message. Now in the response, we want to print answer. Yes. And if we want the history, we can get the history. So what is the message? I want to ask a question. What is a credit score? That is my first question. What is a credit score? It says that missing the history, chat history. I think somewhere when we are giving this memory, we have to say the memory key here. Since we are connecting it to a RAG, we have to say my memory underscore key is equal to chat history. That is a memory key. And I want to return the messages. Return messages is equal to true. With these two options, it should be able to retain the memory and give us the output. Right. What is a credit score? A credit score is a numerical expression analysis expressed in this. Okay, now I will ask a question related to how to increase that. How to increase that. When I say that, I mean to say credit score. I'm talking about credit score. How to increase that? That means I'm having a conversation. It is saying you can increase the credit score, pay your bills on time, understand how credit score is determined, apply the credit score cautiously. It all depends on what is information that is present in the documents that we have passed on. Does it decrease? Does the credit score decrease? When I say does it, when I say it means to say yes, the missing bill payments can have a negative impact. Now let me ask a question that is not at all connected to this. What is cricket score? Now, if you usually ask this question to a large language model, it will try to give you the answer. Definitely, you will get the answer if you ask it to a large language model, the original ChatGPT, it will give you the answer. Okay. This is the cricket score, but the answer that you will get here is I don't know, because we are talking about RAG. What is the speciality of RAG? Tell me why this answer was not given here.
In the trained documents, it is not present.
Because in the documents, in the PDF files that I have passed on, this particular cricket score was never mentioned. That's why it's saying I do not know the answer. That is a specialty of RAG. That's where the whole world is right now. Everybody is after RAG right now, especially this type of application, conversational retrieval chain, where you upload all your PDF files and you have a conversation with your documents. Then finally, I will say quit, then it will quit. Now, whatever I have shown you here is inside the notebook itself, you are creating an application. But if you have Streamlit, if you wrap all of this, if you wrap all these steps inside the Streamlit code, you can also create an application. Let me give you the code for that. How do you create an application that will look like the website application? On a website, this whole thing would look like a chatbot. How does that look like? Let us try to put all these steps inside one tool. So how does that typically work? You write all the packages that you require in requirements.txt. Usually what you do is you keep all the required. In fact, you have to mention the version also, which version of that. But right now I'm taking the latest version. Put all of them in requirements.txt. It will create a new file called requirement.txt. Where is that? Requirement.txt will be created. And then you try to install all of them. I think as of now, they're all installed, but to be on the safe side, I'm installing all of them. Now what I'm doing is whatever the code that we have written until now, I will take all the PDF files and then get them into chunks, create the embedding, store them in the vector database, all of that. I'm creating functions. Now this is the function to handle the user input. I will take the user input, and if the user gives me an input, then I will, like this is the front end version. How does that look like? A man in the tuxedo. That icon will be shown and the message content, whatever the user has written. And then based on the output, a robotic face will be shown and the output from the AI will be shown. Now this is the kind of slight CSS styling, like how does your website appear, a little bit of formatting. Even without this, it will work. Now the main important one is once the user uploads all the PDF files, I'll get all the PDF files from the user. st.streamlit.fileuploader, I'll get all the PDF files, get the PDF files, divide them into chunks, create the embedding, store them in the vector database, and then get the conversational chain. So what is this conversational chain doing? Get conversational chain. It will take the input from the user and it will try to give me the output. So it's pretty much the same whatever we have done, but here we're trying to put all of them in a Python executable file called app.py. Once you keep them in a Python executable file on Streamlit, you can actually execute it. So if I try to execute it, sometimes it says that it doesn't work on Chrome due to some CSS related issues, but we'll try. If it works, fine. Otherwise, we'll try to execute it in Firefox. So it has created app.py. I'll try to load this app right now. This is the ID that I have to give. Need to install the following package, local tunnel, proceed. Yes or no? I think we have installed that. This is the external URL. It should be creating the external URL. Local tunnel, local tunnel, local tunnel. Okay, that is missing. What I'll try to do is I'll try to install that and then we will execute this. Let me install local tunnel. Pip install local tunnel. No problem. Local tunnel version 2.0.0. Let me stop this and then try to install that particular version. Equal to. Hopefully this works this time. Could not find it. So let me do it this one. If it doesn't work, we will go to another browser. It has some issue with Chrome. Could not find local. Satisfies the requirement. Let me do it once more. If it doesn't work, we will change this altogether. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to open the same in Firefox, because this has some issues in the past also with the So I'll try to redo all of this, only the app creation. There you go. Let's go to the Firefox version. The best part about the app is you don't need to install anything outside of whatever we have written there. So I'll directly go to this app creation RAG chatbot tool, and then I have all these. I'll say run anyway. So it must be creating requirements.txt. there's a new file that will be created, which is requirements.txt. And then I'm trying to install all of them, and then the Python file, executable file. Finally, I will say streamlit.run app.py. One more thing we must do. What is that? We have to make sure that we are giving API keys for these OpenAI. As of now, the installation of the packages is happening in here. All these packages are getting installed. It may take 1 more minute, max to max. Yes, the packages have been installed, but before I execute that, I want to make sure that I have given the API keys. So these keys and so if I go to user data, go here API key, OpenAI API key, it should ask me for a permission. Somehow it did not ask, but hopefully that should not be a deal, I guess. I think in Chrome it asks, in Firefox it did not ask for the permission, which is strange. But anyway, now that we have this app.py from Streamlit, I'm trying to execute it. It is again asking for the local tunnel. So I will try to first install that. Where should we put Y? Yes, install it. Install, please. I think it's installing. So basically what it gives us is it gives us one link that looks like almost like a website link, which we can use for accessing. Otherwise, we will try to push this onto Hugging Face Hub. From there also we can access it. If it doesn't work here, I'll try to push it onto Hugging Face Hub, and then we will try to access it. How does that chatbot look like? It's taking more time than what it should be doing. Let us install local tunnel separately. Pip install Streamlit. Anyway, it was there. Pip install local tunnel. Could not find a version that looks like there is an issue with the local tunnel. No matching distribution of local tunnel has been found. So what I'll do is it 0.2.2? No, 2.0.2. This also thrown an error earlier. Okay, now what we'll do is as an alternative, since there is one local deployment issue here, we can go to something called Hugging Face Spaces. If you have a login ID, you can create something called Hugging Face Spaces. You can create a new space. In that new space, you can push it. Already I have pushed this. So this is known as chat with your documents. Restart this space. What you need to do in here is, if you click on this chat with your documents, if you go to all the files, so you have to put the app.py file and the requirements.txt file. The HTML related stuff, I have kept it in a separate Python file. I have kept it here. So once you put all these files, and in the environment file, you simply say my OpenAI API key. This is almost like on Azure. How do you deploy the model? Like on Azure, you take all the CPU specifications, hardware specifications, and then you go to this location where you call this as OpenAI API key environmental variable or the new secret. So let me replace this secret. I'll update this key. I'll try to. So it's a pip install py local tunnel, is it? We'll try that. But before that, let me quickly try this here. So this is my OpenAI API key. That is my secret that we will try to use it inside this one. Let me keep it on another window. There you go. I'll say save. I got it back. So I have replaced that OpenAI API key. I have replaced that, updated just less than a minute ago. And once that is done, so it is building for me. It's building. Once that is done, we can see our app on Hugging Face space. So let it also work, and we will also do it locally. Looks like somebody found a solution for this. So pip install local tunnel. This is something new for me. Earlier it was directly local tunnel. So let us try this. Now let us try to use this. Again, it is saying local tunnel. I think it must be local tunnel. I'm just guessing. I do not know. Because earlier it was local tunnel, which was sufficient. Yep. Error. Some registry. Not found. External URL. But anyway, we will go back to our Hugging Face. So I'm keeping all my related code files. So basically I'm deploying it on a cloud environment here. The cloud is provided by Hugging Face with basic options. All that you need to do is you go to your Hugging Face login ID and create a new space. In that new space, you have to put all these files. Since we in the requirements.txt, we have given all the requirements, it will be installing all those required files. So it's pushing the image. If everything works fine, that means if our API key is correct, if our code doesn't break, then it will give us the final build. Application is starting up, starting. It's taking a little bit of time. Obviously, it is a free version. The CPU and the RAM, the processor that is given to us is slightly lesser. I think this particular piece has changed. I will try to update it. Earlier, it was working perfectly fine. Let's go back to our, it's running. Its build is complete. It says it's running. We can see the front end. So this is the chatbot that I am talking about, the AI chatbot or the application. This is how it will look like. So this is the code that we have written. So if we go to our files, in the code, in the requirements.txt, we have these requirements that we have mentioned. In the app.py, whatever is the code, like here we have written something like chat with your documents, a books icon, etc., etc. All of this can be seen on our final front end. Now what you need to do is you need to just drop all your PDF files here. Browse the files. So I want to give these PDF files. These are the 5 files, civil related documents that I'm uploading. You can upload multiple files, no problem at all. There are 3 + 2, 5 files. Once you say submit, submitted. Now you can ask a question. What is credit score? Enter. Running. A credit score is this. How does it's the same thing. Whatever we have tried earlier, whatever we have already seen here, without any front end, we have done everything inside our Jupyter notebook itself. In the back end is what we have done. The same RAG we have used. So whatever you see here, what is credit score, and all the questions that we have asked here, the same questions that I'm asking there, but the front end looks like how to increase that is the question that I'm asking. How does it increase? So it looks like almost it's a chat GPT for your private documents. So this is the place that a lot of people are using large language models right now, because something like this was impossible earlier, where you upload PDF documents and then ask the questions. In fact, even when you're working in your company, you don't need to do anything else. You can take my code as it is. You can just take all these files as it is. You can take everything as it is, isn't it? There's no need to change anything in this. You can take it as it is, and then you directly upload your PDF files, and then you get the answers based on the PDF files that you have uploaded. So AI chatbot for your documents. This is conversational retrieval chain. This is what right now very famous. Everybody is using it right now. Are you with me, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So that is the story of memory and the chatbot. Yeah, please go ahead.
What if like I just wanted to work with all extensions, like or 4-5 extensions at a time, like PDF along with Excel along with JSON format?
So that's a good question actually. The basically I think you're talking about only input part. Like right now we have taken the whole data from the PDFs only. So the only change that you will be making in that case would be, so in our so let's take to the place where we, so this is a rack for conversation memory. So here I have taken all the PDF files, right? So here particularly I have taken the extension as .pdf. Okay. Now, if I want to work with JSON files, if I want, like, if you want to particularly work with maybe Python files only, okay. So then I would mention .py, okay. And if you want to work with a couple of them, so you mention what are all the ones that you want to work with, and then you put all of them in here, okay. But it is suggested that unless until it is a usual regular text, it is okay. If you're feeling you have to mix text with the code, that may not give good results. Either work with all type of code files or work with text file. But yes, is it possible to work with multiple extensions? Fine, it is possible. So instead of saying PDF files, I'll say my files. I'll get all the files and then I'll take all the text. That's the only place that it will change. Remaining all will exactly remain the same. In fact, an exercise of this in our previous assignment, in the RAG assignment, we have given this as an exercise or the assignment where you will be working with Python files only. Okay. So in that, a piece of code is given as one of the hint. Okay. So yes, it is possible to work with multiple extensions or different type of extensions apart from PDF.
Okay, thank you.